Welcome to Wisdom Woman podcast. I believe that is in constant change and growth, not in perfection, that we find happiness. In this podcast, I'm going to be talking with top performance professionals about tools, techniques, new ideas on how to develop your communication skills, use your creative thinking, be a team player, manage your tasks like a pro, be motivated, become an expert on relationships, and a problem solver. Everything you need to be 5 stars in all areas of your life. My intention is to help you develop your skills and find balance between your professional and personal life. My name is Betina Pflug, and I hope I can be your trusted advisor. Welcome, dear listeners, to another enlightening episode of Wisdom Woman, where we uncover the wisdom, insights, and empowering stories of remarkable people who are changing the game in their respective fields. I'm your host, Betina Pflug, and today we have a truly extraordinary guest who is dedicated to transform the way we view and manage our most precious resource, our time. With a burning passion for helping and supporting busy and overwhelmed business owners and their teams, our guest, Judy Hecht Broscher, is a true embodiment of wisdom and empowerment. She's not just only a productive coach, she's a time magician. I met her when I was pursuing another certification as an executive coach here in Australia at an open door coaching school. It was a pleasure to see how much we had in common. And Judy's expertise lies in improving our relationship with time. That's why I admire on her. And she's here today to share her invaluable insights, strategy, and wisdom with our Wisdom Woman community. Whether you are a business owner struggling to balance your professional and personal life, a team leader seeking to boost productivity, maybe you're an expat that just moved to another country, it's super busy, or simply someone looking for ways to reclaim more times in your day. Judy has the answers you've been searching for. So fasten your seatbelts, get ready to embark on a journey of time mastery guided by a true wisdom woman. Judy is about to reveal the secrets that will help you create more time where there once was none. Without further ado, let's dive into this episode and unlock the magic of time with an only and one Judy from Time Fix. Welcome to our podcast, my dear friend. I'm really happy that you're here with us today.
Thank you very much, Bettina, for this wonderful introduction.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how did you become a productivity coach?
Oh, that's a big one. Well, my journey started about 8 years ago. Originally, I'm a cartographer, so I used to make maps, and unfortunately, about 9 years ago, I was going through a divorce, and since I am missing the organized gene, I suddenly had to find ways to stay organized, be on top of things, and provide for my 2 beautiful children. And the problem was that no matter what I was doing, I was still sliding back into my good old self. This is why my journey started with creating a small business planner, which is still around. It's called the Ant Planners. And once I started to sell, obviously that developed into a business very quickly, because once I had the planner in my hands, all my friends and family wanted one. So it just grew naturally into something else than what originally it was meant for. But about half a year into selling the planner, I started to ask the question, so how did you go with it? And that's when I realized that just because you have a good tool, it doesn't mean that you know what to do with it. And this is how the time management side of the business started to grow, and coaching became more and more a focus. And within a year, the Time Fix overtook the Ant Planners, and I was suddenly finding myself in that spot where I was supporting other people around me on their journey to better productivity. Now, how did we go from time management to productivity? What still happened, obviously, I was reading anything and everything that was falling in my hand around time management in general. But what I found that even though I had all this knowledge, I still couldn't always stay on top of my things. And I was wondering why. And this is where I bumped into a beautiful lady from New Zealand who started to talk to me, Jane Alviston, wonderful person. And she started to talk to me about behavioral science and how that fits in a small business owner's world and what's the impact of it and so on. And I just had the light bulb moment. So I feel like when it comes to classic time management, we're forgetting that those tools are going to be used by human beings. So just like with anything, you need to adapt and adopt those tools in different ways that suit your behavioral style and your personality and your natural wiring. So this is how I started to incorporate behavioral science into everything that I do. And today we approach time management not as time management, because the reality is that you can't manage time. You can only manage yourself, but rather as a time mindset, because once you understand your personal relationship with your time, things start to shift and change, and you are starting to find solutions that actually support you on becoming more productive. And probably this is why I prefer to talk about productivity rather than time management, because I think it is so much more important to be productive than to be focused on managing your time, just your time.
And what is this concept of time mindset and why it's so important for individuals and organizations?
Well, the problem is that, as I mentioned, time management on its own almost feels like it's inflexible. It's something that we are trying to adopt. It feels like we are trying to live up to someone else's expectations. At the end of the day, time management is a tool in your productivity toolbox, while your time mindset is your relationship with your time. It actually defines the way that you think about time, the way that you feel about time, the way that time passes for you, and the way that you will interpret anything and everything that needs to be done on your productivity journey. And this is why I feel that it's so important to talk about time mindset rather than time management, because once you understand how you function, it is easy to find tools that will support you on that journey.
And how do different time mindset impact a person's productivity and effectiveness?
Oh, this is an interesting one, because when it comes to time mindset, and at the Time Fix, we developed a whole madness around time management and time mindset, and we talk about time-centric archetypes. Why? Because we try to incorporate your behavioral makeup and your time management skills in one, and we try to come up with some stereotypical characters where you can recognize some of the traits, and it will help you better understand yourself and how you regard time. So when it comes to your time-centric archetype, it will show you the way that you connect with time. So I'll give you an example. Some of us are systems and processes kind of people. Now, when it comes to their relationship with time, when it comes to doing something, these people are generally very good at staying focused for long periods of time. Now, that's not true to everyone. But you also need to know that it takes them longer to reach that fully focused zone when it comes to their productivity. What that means is that if you, for example, apply that simple technique, Pomodoro technique, you probably have heard of it, 25 minutes focused work, 5-minute break, and you repeat. By the time that you hit 25 minutes, they are just hitting their fully focused zone. So according to this technique, they should be coming out of the doing and taking a break. So when it comes to them, it's all about adopting the Pomodoro technique to their needs. What that means is that their 25 minutes might last 45 minutes to an hour. So it's really having that clarity on how will you use a time management technique in a better way so that it suits your time-centric archetype and it suits you ultimately. And on the other end, just talk about the other end, because some people are not like that at all. If you're a time bender, as we call them, time is very relative to you because it's not your priority and it doesn't fall on your priority list. People, variety, fun, interesting things are priority for a time bender. What that means is that their attention span is a lot shorter. So the 25-minute block might be too long for these guys to be really productive. So you have to find what's your productive time block, because if you do that, then planning and staying on top of your to-do list and getting things done becomes so much easier.
And could you share some common challenges people face when it comes to managing their times? So maybe you can explain more about the different archetypes and how they manage time.
Well, it depends on deep diving a little bit into time-centric archetypes. The reality is that every single one of us will have a unique relationship with time, just because unlike your vision or your hearing or your tasting, which lights up a very specific part of your brain. So there's a specific part of your brain that is responsible for all these activities. We do not have a specific time part of our brain that would be responsible for perceiving time. So that means that I don't know, how many of us are there, Bettina? 8 million, 8 billion, something like that now. All of us will perceive time in a very unique way. As much as we are measuring the same way, time, we do perceive time very uniquely and differently. And there's a study about this. I read it a few months ago. They took two control groups, one that was always on time and one that was always late. And they asked these guys to actually push a button and say, when do they think that a minute has passed? And what's really interesting, that the people who are always early started to push the button at around 55 seconds, while the people who are usually late started to push the button well over 70 seconds. So it kind of shows you. It's wicked, but we do perceive time differently. So when it comes to challenges, the challenge is that almost always when we are in a working environment, we are trying to live up to someone else's expectations. I often hear leaders say, but I told them to watch what I do and they will be fine. It's the wrong way to approach your team. It's the wrong way to think about the people that you work with, because the reality is that just because it works for you, it doesn't mean that it will work for them.
I agree with you. And what are some strategies you recommend to improve this relationship with time then?
Well, you won't like me, but time logging is the easiest way to start having a bit of clarity around what's happening in your day. And I know it's tedious, and I know you have to have a bit of discipline to jot down everything, but everything starts with observation. Because when it comes to how we use our time, it's all about our habits. And ultimately, it's all about our rituals. And if we want to change anything, first we have to gain awareness around it. So whatever you do, notice, because you can't change something that you are not aware of. Just that sense of something's not good is not enough to help you start stepping on that road of improving things or changing things, or even acknowledging if something works. We spend so much time in the let's change something space that we forget to acknowledge what really works for us.
Yeah, I agree. There are some phases. First of all, it's perceive what's going on. The second one, after you have the awareness, it's being able to try to do something different. Until you can do something different is a long way, but
Oh God, yeah.
perceiving is the first step for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. So
And as a productivity coach, what approaches do you use that helps individuals to boost their productivity?
what do you mean?
When you go to a company and start training them, besides defining their archetype and the relationship with time, what kind of approaches and methodologies do you use?
Well, I have my own methodology and my own special angle, because there's not many. Actually, I don't know anyone else who would approach time management from the perspective of behavior and behavioral makeup. So we always start with first profiling the whole team and helping the individuals start understanding what they do, how they do, and why do they do the things that they do the way that they are doing it. There's a lot of do's in that sentence, but the whole idea is that you really want people first to understand what is their natural makeup, what's comfortable, what's uncomfortable, and you want them to start being able to voice their concerns, to voice what works for them and what doesn't work for them. And what we do, we actually bring the whole team to the table and we show the whole team what is the team's makeup, because it's so important to know who are your people who need to be left alone so that they can focus and they can do their best work in a continuous work environment. Who are your people who need the water cooler run, where you have those chats where they seek and look for interaction, because that's how they function the best possible way. Who are your people who are your nurturers in the team, who naturally will gravitate towards others and make sure that everything gets done the right way? Who are your people who are your big drivers, the big picture people who are always 5-6 steps ahead? And why are they impatient? So first, understanding the team's makeup is one of the most important things. And from there, we usually do embark with a team for at least 6 months on a productivity journey, because unfortunately, let's put it this way. The good news is there's solutions out there and we're happy to help you and support you on that journey. But the bad news is that it doesn't happen overnight. So it takes time to start changing patterns and changing the way that the team interacts and the way that the team becomes more productive. So it takes time. So we usually embark on a journey with them for a longer period of time, at least 6 months. And what we do on this journey is not just time management. We do a lot of habit change. We work around communication from the perspective of productivity. We look at the whole team. How can they support each other rather than stepping onto each other's toes? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And can you share some success stories where you implemented this methodology and had a significant impact on your client's company and performance?
One of our latest success stories is a sales team that we were engaged to work with them. They are a furniture manufacturing company, and we only worked with a sales team. So we didn't touch systems and processes and all those other things. That's for someone else to do. We were engaged to originally to go to their conference and give them some insight into a different way of looking at productivity. So we worked with the team for half a day. And at the end of that half a day, we were engaged to work with one of their team members who was struggling a little bit with keeping on top of everything. And about 3 months in, he just went from being a struggling person into being a high achiever and top performer, which was quite nice. We increased his sales by about $300,000 in that space of time. And And it actually went to the point where they looked at him and they thought, well, the whole team could do with a little bit of better performance. So we were engaged to work with the whole team, and we just finished a program, our reset program with them. And it was exhilarating seeing the transformation, the level of connection that came out of that program, how they are supporting each other now rather than stepping onto each other's toes, how they reach out when they need help instead of being isolated in their little bubbles, and how now that they are actually working together as a team towards their common goals. So it was a fabulous journey, and now we're heading hopefully into that retention phase where we will still meet them once a month, but it's more about deep diving in specific areas that we identify with the leadership team as a problem. So, for example, if they want to work a little bit more around how do they connect their time with their goals, we'll be working with that probably for about 3 months on this topic, and now dissecting it a little bit more and looking at what else can we put in place from their productivity perspective to increase the chance of achieving their goals. So yeah.
Talking about achieving goals, I think a lot of people struggling to achieve their goals. How do you guide them in this process of achieving more goals?
Well, let me tell you a really cool little thing that we discovered very early on when it comes to goals and time. It was maybe 4 years ago, we were in a workshop environment, and I had this beautiful lady in the room, high achiever, very organized. I don't even know why she came to the workshop originally. I think it was more curiosity rather than a genuine need to improve productivity. And when we started to talk about goals, I asked her, so how do you break down your goals and over the year? And she said to me, well, it's simple. I take the 52 weeks, I deduct 4 weeks of holidays, and then I just disperse my goals over the next 48 weeks. And it just stumped me, because the reality is that, especially here in Australia, in Victoria, we have 10 public holidays. 10.
Plus the time where the kids are off in school. Oh my gosh, it's really
Wait
hard.
for it. We're not even talking about that yet. But having 10 public holidays, it means that effectively, out of those 48 weeks, she should actually deduct another 2 straight away. So that's already 46. Now, if you think about the fact that you do have big life events like big birthdays, weddings, and so on, nothing starts on the day and ends on the day. You always have to factor in a little bit more time. So there's at least another week going away just like this from your available time to achieve your goal. So you're down to 47. And then, God forbid, like you said, you have children. So if it's school holidays time, whether you like it or not, your productivity will drop by 20 to 30 or even 40% just because you have children around you and you have other commitments. So you could easily put another week or two less than what you think that you have available. So the reality is that by the time, for a mom in business or a family that has children in business, we realize that you roughly have 42 effective working weeks a year. Now you see there's a difference of 6 weeks. If you set your goals with the mindset of having 48 weeks, you are already setting yourself up for failure. 6 weeks, it is not something that you can discount. Even 2 extra weeks that you don't have to achieve your goals can impact negatively the chances of hitting your goals. So, if anything from today, please walk away with actually sitting down with your yearly planner and block out all the times that you are not available and then count how many weeks you really have available during the year, and then look at your goals. Are your goals still realistic and achievable? Because if not, you need to adjust them. And I think that's the biggest issue with goals in general, Bettina. We set ourselves up for failure. Why? You can always up your game if you achieved your goals, don't you?
Yeah, of course. Yes. In my planner, I approach a little bit different. I ask people to consider the important dates on the year. For example, when is Mother's Day? When is your kid's birthday? And considering the vacation and everything, be aware of that and that your productivity will reduce. But map all the things in the calendar. It's similar to what you're proposing, but it's super important. I totally
100%. Because
agree. Yeah.
otherwise, how do you know how much real available time you have to achieve what you need to achieve?
And can you provide examples on how using a planner has transformed the productivity of yourself personally and the companies you're working with?
Ooh, that's an interesting one again. Often I bump into people who say, oh, but I'm using my online calendars and my phone and my this and my that. And I always say that if you truly want to change the way that you do things, going back to pen to paper is essential. And I do find that, again, there's a bit of science around your brain connecting with your hand, and handwriting will always make your whole brain flare up compared to typing or just using an online platform. The danger with online platforms is that they are mostly diaries. They are designed to jingle at you, to tell you where you need to go. They are designed to remind you that you need to do something, but they are very clunky when it comes to planning. So I tend to use two things. I tend to use an online diary for my appointments. So I have an appointment calendar or diary on my computer and obviously on my smartphone. And then I have a paper planner to help me figure out what I can fit in my week. And I spend 10-15 minutes a week with my beautiful colored pens and highlighters uh, and my to-do list, and figuring out what do I need to fit in the week and where would that happen. So it gives me a very good overview of my week. Will I carry that everywhere with me? No, not necessarily. Though I love a paper planner, so if it fits in my handbag, it will be with me. I don't mind actually carting it around. But the reality is that I try to do my planning on pen with a pen and paper, because I find that it is so much more effective when it comes to giving myself a chance to have clarity around what I need to do during the week.
And how do you combine your personal and professional life? If you use like a planner like that, how do you balance that? How much you put for personal, how much you suggest putting as professional when you manage your time?
I actually consider my personal life as part of life. So I don't separate personal and professional from the perspective of planning. My personal life has, just like all my other categories in my professional life, a color and a category, and it has to fit in my life the right way. I also tend to call it unmovable objects in my life, because if it's in my planner with pink, then it is there for a reason and it is important. So I try to treat my personal life with as much importance and respect as I do with my professional life. Why? Because ooh, you know that sentence, work-life balance?
Yeah, for sure.
I have a huge problem with it. Uh, there's two big things with that sentence. First of all, when did work become more important than life?
Yeah,
Why
that's
are we talking about work-life balance rather than life-work balance, if we really want to use the word balance? But then I have a big problem with that word balance. Language is a really interesting thing, and you're bilingual, at least, I think. I'm the same. Balancing is an act. It takes a lot of energy to balance something. And we're human beings. We do not like to do anything that takes a lot of energy. So why are we trying to balance things? I always like to talk about life, work, harmony, because in the end, life and work has to work together rather than being a balancing act. And it feels like you always are giving up something for the other. This is why I like looking at everything as a whole, and sneaking in life almost like an extra category of things that I have to keep an eye on in the bigger picture.
I agree with you. When I teach my clients on how to find this balance that you're referring to, I always invite them to look for 5 different areas. Imagine you have your hand, and each finger represents one area of your life. So the first one will be your family and relationships. The second, your health, because without your health, you're nothing. Then your spirituality, how important it is to have this connection to spirituality and the nature. Your friends and your role in the community is the fourth. And the fifth one is your professional life. So when considering your time, why don't you take a look on what's important in all those areas of your life, and then use a planner to include all the activity you want to do in all these areas to have the balance and be happy. That's the approach.
Absolutely. And that's the whole idea. People try to treat life as an extra thing rather than, looking at work and life together as a unison, and thinking about how do you fit all the important things in your life in that planner, whether that's professional or personal. I do believe that you have to marry and combine them in one place. And this is why I see so many people say to me, oh, I have a work diary and I have a personal diary. Really? And how do you manage it? How are you not double booking yourself? How are you not struggling with actually maintaining two? I sometimes struggle with keeping up with one. So it's so important to change the way that you are thinking about your time, and start treating yourself as a whole rather than, oh, now I have my professional hat on and now I'm personal life. I do believe that it's worth looking at everything from a holistic perspective, and your diary or planner has to reflect both equally in that space. And this is how you start creating those boundaries, the little rules around how you want to live your life. You start looking at, okay, so if my social life is important, and not everyone looks at it as very important, but if that's important to you, how is that appearing in your planner and in your plan for the week? Where is it? Don't just know it in your head. Put it on paper or in your online systems. But you have to actually plan a little bit and have a bit of clarity around how are you going to spend your time, because the reality is that time is your most precious commodity. Once it's gone, it's gone. It never comes back.
And what advice do you have for someone who wants to start using a planner but doesn't know where to begin?
Where do you start? I think you need to start with figuring out what are the most important categories in your life that you want to keep an eye on. That's the most important thing. How do you do that? You start capturing all the important things that you do, and then mix and match. So anything and everything that falls under the same kind of priority label should be in the same box. Just to give you an example, for example, I had a beautiful client with 6 kids. that on its own, it's a challenge. And when I first met her, she was using a planner, and she had a color for each child. And my question was to her, which child do you love the most? And she looked at me shocked. What do you mean? I love my children the same way. And I'm like, yeah, but I can see that you have different colors for it. So which one is the most important? And she was like, oh my God, I never thought about this. So we scraped the 6 colors, and we replaced it with one color, because in the end, or one category, because in the end, from the perspective of where she was spending her time, and the level of priority, all children were falling into the same level of importance and priority. So there was no need to create busyness in her planner. She just needed to know when does she have to be present for her family, which were mainly her children. So sometimes less is more. I find that everyone's life can be somehow fixed into roughly 6 categories. It's rare that you need more than that, and that becomes manageable, whether we talk about your online diary or your paper diary. But it all starts with figuring out first what are those important areas in your life, or categories in your life that you need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I divided mine also not that many. I have my personal activities, my family activities, like you said. I don't separate by kid or my husband. It's just my role in the family, my work, and also my philanthropy work, whatever I do to help out that I don't expect any return on it. I divided on those categories.
Fabulous. It's
And
interesting.
can you share any productivity rituals or habits that you normally have in your
Cool.
own life?
Well, I guess one of the most important ones is, and we bump into this problem again and again and again, especially now that we work so much from home, is my morning ritual and the close of office ritual. Because unfortunately, most of us, especially when we work from home, somehow work and personal life flows into each other, and it's a bit of a mishmash. You know, when you're standing outside in the kitchen and you're cooking dinner and you're still thinking about work. So you're not present for the cooking and you're not present in your work. So it's kind of, to me, that's the definition of wasting time.
Mhm.
Because in the end, the more present you can be in what you do, the better quality of life you will get out of that moment. And we do this everywhere. We do this with our partners, we do this with our children, we do this in general, that we are not fully present. So one of the things that I like to do, I have my little morning ritual with my breakfast. Well, not right now because I'm on a health journey, so coffee is out of the question for the moment. But when coffee will be back on the table, then it's usually a coffee, and that's how I start my day. But when it comes to the end of the day, I like to actually close my day with at least, shutting down everything if possible. I am not the person who will close all their tabs. Please, I have to disclose that up front. So in the morning when I open my laptop, I will still have at least 10, 15 tabs open, but that's just my way of working. But also what you need to know about me in this instance is that I'm not an early riser. I'm a late owl. So what this means is that I often stop working at around 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's it, mostly 3. And then I reopen my computer later in the evening around 8, 9 o'clock. And I usually do my best creative work back at that end of the day. So I do reopen my little office for a couple of hours in the evening from time to time, just because that works for me.
Well, that's good. I can share also some of my rituals. What I normally do is every end of the day, I choose the 5 priority tasks I'm going to achieve the following day. And I write down on my planner, those are the tasks that if I end the day tomorrow, I will feel good about it. So I normally chose the night before because it helps me during the night for my subconscious to prepare for the following day. And also on Sunday, I try to sit at least for an hour thinking on how my week went. I do like a weekly review. There are some questions that I ask for myself. Also, I try to revisit what success means to me, what are my goals, the time, what is important, if I'm going to have some time off or not this week. And then I put all the activities and the tasks I have planned for the week in my calendar, in my planner. So those are the rituals that I think really work for me. And I try to teach my coaching clients to implement them in their life.
That's fantastic. That's lovely. I also maybe one more thing. It's really important, and I never used to do that, but I do like to create a lunch break, and I do, especially now that on top of everything, I do have set times when I eat. I do tend to actually plan it and have it in my planner, clearly stated that that is my conscious gap in the day. And I think that's so important, because again, it's all about health and that awareness around how we take care of ourselves. And again, a lot of people that I bump into do talk to me about, they go heat up their lunch and then they sit back to their computer and they eat. Even if our whole team, Pooja and Kirsten, is together, at around 1:00, we do shut our computers and take a break and eat together. And that's so important. That's such a beautiful moment in the day.
Conscious eating. And I know that you offer some webinars that you teach people about all the tools that you offer. When is going to be the next one, and how can people enroll to your webinars?
That's simple. If you go onto our website, www.thetimefix.com.au, you can find the links to our workshops. Our workshops are, we have a free masterclass every 4th Monday of the month. It's a lunch and learn kind of setup. It's always on a Monday from 12 to 1:30. And if you have a bit of time, I encourage you to jump on it, find your next one. I think the next one is on the 23rd of October, if I'm right. I think, yes, it's on the 23rd of October. We do talk a little bit about better productivity. Actually, we talk about better habits for better productivity, and that's pretty much the title of the workshop too. But I can share with you the link to the workshop, so maybe you can add it to the podcast
Description. Yes. Yeah, we can
so we make it a bit easier to the listeners to enroll into this workshop. So it really helps. It's our way of giving back, and also it's a great way to get to know us and to see us in action and learn a little bit more about our unique way of looking at productivity.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Judy, for sharing this knowledge. And if you want to plan your 2024 year, we have also at the end of the year a workshop that we're organizing where you're going to spend the whole day with us this Saturday, and we will plan 2024 together with a lot of tools. If you want to learn how to use the Witchy Planner, download our app called Witchy on your favorite store, Apple Store, Google Store. I offer some free videos there where you can learn more how to be more efficient. And also join Yuji's online masterclass, like she said, happening every fourth Monday of the month at noon. And I will put here on the description of the podcast. She's a master on time management and super efficient, bring a different perspective for you. I really encourage you to visit her website, thetimefix.com.au. And thank you once again for being part of the Wisdom Woman community. Remember, your time is your most valuable asset. And with the right tools and guidance, you can make the most out of every moment. Until next time, and embrace your inner wisdom and keep striving for greatness. Thank you for being here with us today. Thank you, Yuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Betina. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you for listening to Wisdom Woman Podcast. To hear past and future episodes, please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast channel. We appreciate your reviews. To give us suggestions for future show topics, please write to us at podcast@witchy.tech. If you're interested in having me as your trusted advisor, schedule a strategic coaching session on my website, www.witchy.tech.